Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tim Lanane, and I've been designated as the chair of this morning's meeting of the Madison County Election Board, which is now called to order. Today's date is October 3, 2024. The purpose of our meeting today is the public testing of the voting equipment as required by state law. I would note that legal notice of this meeting was posted by being posted on September 27th, 2024. The notice was also given to the relevant media for this meeting this morning. I would like to announce that the meeting is being live streamed and public access of the recorded meeting may be found in the meeting archives on the county website. I'd like to make a few introductions at this time. As I indicated previously, I'm Tim Lanane. I'm acting as chairman this morning of the election board. The chairman, Mr. Willis, could not be here today, so he has designated as his proxy Sharon Gilmore. And welcome, Sharon. Thank you for being here today. And of course, Linda Smith is the clerk and board secretary. I also want to show that today we have with us Sue Clark. Or Sue, I can't see you, I can see your hand. And Sue is our field representative from ES&S, the voting machines company. I believe, or I'm sorry, field technician. I'm calling you field technician, Sue. I was thinking that Becky Rouche might be here, but I don't know if you are here. Okay, good. Oh, there you are. Thank you very much. And you are the field representative from ES&S. Is that correct? All right. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Sue Clark, who will take us through the testing process. Sue?
We can come up and look at this notice what we're I think she knows that already.
Okay, so we're going to invite the public to come up.
And view that everything is zero.
As we have instructed previously, we would ask you not to record as you're viewing the process.
So there's been 0 tapes printed, and everything says public count 0. So if anybody wants to walk up and view that, you're more than welcome to come up and do that.
Well, I'd like to ask you a question, Sue. The state access counselor said anything that we can view, we can record.
That's not for me to answer.
I
That's
know,
for them.
but y'all, they represent y'all's equipment here. Now, all other equipment you can do that on. Now, what is the reason why we can't video somebody?
David, you can go ahead and come on up. Anybody who wants to come up and take a look at the screen, you're welcome to.
Can we explain?
Public count is 0. That means that there's been no ballots. And protected count is like the odometer on a car. So this is approximately how many ballots have been tabulated through this equipment since they bought it.
Since they bought it, okay. Can I ask a couple of questions while I'm up there?
Sure.
Okay, with the programming system, so there's a central programming where all of our machines are programmed by, correct?
The programming comes from Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, is it done by memory stick? Is it done over the internet?
Secure transfer files.
It's burned in Omaha on hardened flash drives. So
Hardened flash
specific
drives, okay.
flash drives that can only be used for that purpose. Nothing else is on it.
Okay, like an iron key. So I'm familiar with that.
Yes.
So it's encrypted and everything, just for the machine?
Yes. They're specific encrypted flash drives only from Omaha, from ES&S.
And it's shipped by courier?
It's shipped, I mean,
They're here via the secure transfer files.
Okay, so it is get transferred by the internet. The secured files were transferred by the internet
they're burned in Omaha
onto the
flash drive.
Flash
Those
drives.
flash drives are shipped here overnight.
okay by a secured make.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was checking. And then
And none of the programming equipment, nothing is ever hooked to the internet. Even our equipment here, as you can see, I brought this This is our election.
It's a hardened computer
It's
system.
hardened computer, there's no internet or anything like that.
Okay, and then the programming is kept by Linda, I would hope, would be your office, secured in case there's any question about
Mhm.
programming integrity.
Correct.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Larry, you're welcome to come up.
I missed
That's okay. We'll explain it to you when you come up.
That makes sense.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the reason why I can't video what I can view? If I can come up there and view it, I should be able to video it. That's what I was told last year by the public access.
Rebecca, did he send you something in writing? Because I would like to see that.
Well, I will certainly help
Okay.
you. And I
Thank you.
I got a call, man. I called him a few minutes ago and let
Good, how are you?
them ready to call you and me. But I still would like to know what your reasoning is for you not to be able to video what somebody can view. Do you have your explanation in writing?
I do. From my attorney. Yes, ma'am. I'll have to get you a copy of it. And I'm not leaving this room, but I'll get you a copy of it.
Well, it wasn't published nowhere. I went on the election site.
Okay, you ready to continue? Okay,
Yeah.
so VSTOP, which is, explain what VSTOP is because I'm not from the state of Indiana.
It's the Voter Technical Oversight Program through Ball State, and they have the laboratory. They accept all of our inventory at the beginning of an election year, and from that inventory, they randomly select the machines that are required to be tested.
Okay, so the list is here. They give us all of our serial numbers, and their instructions are to choose the first 3 to 4 machines that are listed on that to do the public test on. So VSTOP, which is your control in the state of Indiana for all of your programming, your software licensing, all of that is all VSTOP. They're the ones that control what machines. We didn't just randomly go out to our warehouse and pick out 4 machines. By law, we only have to test 2 machines. I doubled it this time. So in that way, we're testing more than that. Also, we are testing 8 precincts. We only have to test 3. But this time we are testing 8. Technically 6, but 2 of those have a school split in there. So we're actually testing 8. What we do with that, the reason for that is I want to make sure that I test every school board race, every Senate race, the U.S. representative districts. I have hit every one of the districts and school boards with the ballots that we're testing to prove that the actual votes are tallied properly and they're going into the right quote buckets, okay, or to the right places. So I have pre-marked ballots with a pre-test and a pre-tape. So if anybody wants to come up and run ballots for us, this is your time.
Yeah. So members of the public, if you want to come up and participate, we'd invite you to do that.
But I can't bring my camera, right?
No, they are live ballots. They are live election ballots.
That don't make any sense.
Okay, so you want to stand here and do this? So your card, you insert your card on this side, and then you'll find that public count will increment to 1. Okay, so just keep doing this.
And these are just actual fake ballots, like when I'm on the ballot and I have 1 vote, this is each one, I guess.
Right, so, yeah, each ballot is marked a special way, which I also have a list of how I mark the ballots here. Each one is marked a certain way, so in that way I can tell that every candidate at least gets 1 vote, and that also the votes will increment.
And then I'll just put it out to 0.
Right, after we do the public test, it will get cleared out to 0.
Are we allowed to have the actual actual candidates on the ballot?
Yes, because they are test ballots with Olivia Pratt.
This is questions people ask me.
Yes, exactly, okay, yeah, they're actual test ballots. Anybody else? We've got 2 more machines here that we have to run.
Well, I'd like to run.
Well, then, but you can't tell them while you're running.
Can't tell them the ballots. You don't want to vote for
The
the,
ballots are, you said they're fake ballots.
They're not fake ballots, these are live ballots. We are testing the live ballots to make sure that your ballot that you are marking is actually,
I know they're like ballots.
they are marked tests on the ballot.
So it doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Because these are actual live ballots.
They're not going to be counted in the real election.
Keep going. Yeah, put them all in. You run them all.
That's okay. I'm not saying that, but it's short.
Anybody else?
She would have to live in class. So she would go to class.
Go ahead. Keep going. We need somebody to run. Keep doing it? Yeah, just keep doing it.
At one year, they said they weren't, last year they said they weren't. These are just test ballots.
So the rest of these ballots
I'll
need
say
to be run.
we're gonna go 10 English.
Who else should we?
Share that guy, I don't know.
Good. Good.
When do we need to get people running? Who else is gonna run?
anybody else?
Anybody else?
Jerry?
Yeah, we need that. Go up.
We'd like that membership.
We'll let you go ahead and get started. This one. This one, go into that.
Yes.
And then we get to the big ones.
Nah, they're not.
Make sure.
Which one we put in?
Turn your back on them, I'm asking you a question.
And then these are saved, these are not restored. They say.
My first Yours says it sounds more than my son. I would because my number sounds master. So I know. They're not sure where that information is going to go back to, but it was listened to very carefully. They haven't even doing so when you get around to that, it's into the machine. And they figure out what's going to get up and try to see where they can. It was interesting.
So these are programmed, once it's to this part, this is enough. Once it gets put in the machine, that is verification of the vote that's done before.
There's nothing that signifies that that's anybody's ballot.
That's why.
No, nothing at all.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Now, that one goes into the bottom. This is what our, like, this is what our absentee ballots are like. Oh, okay. So if you get an absentee in the mail, that's what they look like. Now, that was a blank ballot, so what we want to do is we're going to get that we're casting a blank ballot. We want to prove that if somebody has a blank ballot, we can go ahead and cast it. Yes, it is. So then this one is overvoted. So you guys voted for 2 candidates. So go ahead and put that in. And it should come up and say that I overvoted in the president and vice president. I voted for 2 candidates, but we want to cast it. Yeah.
So that everybody on task.
Yeah. It's rejected.
Well, okay, so let's say after that, you were friends with, everyone on this board. Some people vote for everybody, because if somebody comes up and says, "Can you vote for me?" Yeah, I did. I mean, yeah, it doesn't.
Or I've had him say to me, I didn't know you voted on the first.
They're just looking at the back right now and not so leave them where they are and push them forward. Spin the screen so there's a little walkway between them. That might. Maybe you could push them forward that table also. And forward up with from either side.
I just know that
Now until the no, I mean, this whole process. Is this just a one-day thing or is this for the rest of the week? My suggestion is only for next year. That's what I thought it was going to be several days, and maybe you could switch that around.
No, all public by law is that okay, can we get 30 more ballots? 30 more ballots? Make sure
Does anybody want to help Terry do this?
Take a return.
anybody, this one looks like it's
It's just one more machine.
ballot.
Okay, Catherine.
Yeah, they will say return, ballot will come back on, and then come like that.
Okay, Carl. See you happy.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
That's what I was telling you.
Yes, exactly, well,
This is the last machine that
I'm sure you guys did what the election should be. Is that
it does have 34 ballots tabulated.
Okay, when we get the six here, it's put into a secure area. Here's who has access. When we program the machines, it's written with 2 people. And are those contracts public knowledge or security reasons?
That was before free.
Well, that's exactly where I was at. So there is a That's classified documents. That's what's happening. Is that on the way? I don't see that you know how.
Well, wait, you gotta clear that out. Right, Sue,
So if I would just, I acknowledge that this is our procedure. That's what I was. Change the protocol was listed. That's what I was asking about.
If it's not anything, it's only gonna cost you, but it doesn't, if there's an overvote, otherwise it'll just take it and then
As long as you pretty good.
I know, I read this. Jerry, I just. You can see that. The reason they have it's ballots, and me forcing you to go in there and say, I'm going to vote for so-and-so.
That's why I said you can't wrangle. I don't have a problem with your
What's the difference?
Here when I went to bed.
Yeah, I think we have a time for that.
I mean, today.
I told you.
I'm gonna bring your husband out. I don't think he can walk. Come in. But I guess he could if he gets a second. It'd been a nice day to come out. Well, he's walking. Which is good for him. Been good? Family good? Yes.
I said, we're going to start soon. I knew some of these kids when they were in school.
These that can start their checks and education.
Should you want to go out?
I will have to go to sleep. Yeah, that's a Duck Creek one. Duck Creek one balance. These can be verified against the face.
Right, I guess the individual can physically check himself to make sure everything is incorrect. But only at least 4, and they're assuming he has to go on the big work.
This one is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that just.
Oh, okay.
I thought what we were going to do, everybody look at their case to make sure that what is the total on the table equals the count on the machine.
Right, and that's where we just now closed the polls on these, so then now the tape is printed to verify against our projected
Would
results.
anybody like to come up?
See if there's any differences there.
This is the expected result. These are the expected results, and then here's the tape that we just ran.
So,
So we're making sure this tape is from our ballots that we just ran right now.
Okay.
So these are the results from that, and then these are what the expected results are. So we're making sure that it's tabulated, what we put into it, and here it is, the expected.
Okay, so this is that you guys did on the ballot yourself, and this is what the machine showed.
Right, so now we're confirming that it did tabulate.
Sir, you need to back up a little bit. You have to stay back with the recordings.
Who are you?
I'm with the sheriff's department, so you please need to step back per their regular.
You'll have to kick me out of the meeting then. If that's the route you want to go, I can see it with my eyes. I'm allowed to film it.
Okay,
If you wanna
you are not. They have their own regulations, so I just need you to step back. You can come up and look at it, but you
public
cannot
access
record it.
What? That makes no sense.
State regulations say it can't be recorded.
Perfect. What state regulation?
What do you want to do with it?
This is a
I
public meeting,
have,
is it
yes,
not?
I have asked them to step back and that they are welcome to record. They can see it with their eyes and they can record it from that angle. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Are you willing to at least, she's running this meeting, so she gets to control as far as what happens.
Well, within the constraints of the law, she can't tell me. Like, there has to be reasonable accommodations for the public to film. What's the difference? I'm
And they are, and you can record it from that second row.
What's the difference if I step back there with a telephoto lens and I zoom in on the text on the screen or the ballots, or if I stand here?
Okay, she is running this meeting. She has the ability to control what happens to this meeting,
Within
similar to our
the
county council
constraints
meetings.
of the law.
Right, and the state statute gives her the authority to decide if someone needs to leave. You can give us so many warnings, if not,
You know,
then we can deal with it.
your
from there. We
remedies,
don't
if
want
you
to go
think
that
we're
route.
violating the open
And that's what I want.
door law, is to file a complaint.
It is, 100%. So
To
if
do
you're,
that,
if you're telling me I
please don't.
can't, if you're telling me I can't film,
Then-
and I
then
need
file
to
a
leave, then
complaint.
I'll leave. Okay.
I didn't tell you you couldn't film. I told you that you could and I
There's
gave
an
you
area
the
for the
area.
But you
I
can do it
can't
from
hear
a
everyone
distance.
at one time. What did Linda have to say?
I said, I didn't tell you that you couldn't film. I have allowed anyone who has their own recording device, I've asked for you to be in the designated area. Okay?
4 rows so far back, please.
Did you want to explain to him why you don't want it public?
The information is confidential information and is to be treated as voted ballots.
Confidential on there in the public share.
It's in the law.
Well, no, you tell me, you tell me what, can you tell me what is confidential in a public share that you're asking the public to come and see? I went to another one, and all that was confidential. I went right over to Muncie, it's on my film. They literally film everything. Understand everything. You come over here and be like,
So number,
everything's so confidential and
it says right here, that all test materials are sealed and retained and disposed as paper ballots. They are confidential. I wish that I would have looked that up, but that's exactly what this says. I'm not I will not arrest you. Isn't that your understanding? That it's not public access.
Voting security wire.
That's
We can't just make a camera out of it.
I don't know, I've seen people addressing the issue of leaving the house and being allowed
And that's still right there,
It's
son.
not, let's just
Access,
testing.
I guess this is okay.
It's not that.
I just threw them
I'll
over.
just print that out. Really, what it's just saying.
Have they been verifying
Yeah,
it?
they looked at these, right? Does anybody else want to verify these results on this machine?
We have 2 more machines that need verified. If any member of the public would like to come up and do that, they're invited to do it. Yes?
Right in.
This tape came from the ballots that were fed into this machine,
Okay.
and then we're comparing that the results now match the projected results of the test. So you're comparing each race here, so you have the third one, and then you have the notes, and then if you look on the state, the same. State is just this one is the one.
Just hang on a second, because this is one where,
And then
also
also
here's
here's
the
the
other yeah, I didn't have to write them on ballots, and we might have to redo
This is a
this.
straight party. That's all I've done. Straight party and a public question. There's no candidate.
I saw him reaching away over.
I know, I mean,
But this one is ready. We're just making sure that this page is yes, no, here's the straight party, here's the president, candidate. All of these votes here match those results. That part is already finished, and the polls are closed now, all the ballots have been ran. So now we're just verifying that the results are accurate, that it's calculated properly.
Okay, well, this is going far. I want to see what the vote is. What do you do?
That's why we have these tests, just to make sure that everything always matches and it's tabulating properly. The system is scanning and finding the predetermined areas of where the vote marker will be. So it's not an issue of it ever missing. Like if there was a faulty machine or something, they're identifying now where all the scanner needs to be cleaned or we need to. It's not a situation of it missed it. So we're just this is just a check and balance. And proof. These are our the predetermined results here, then we recreate it to make sure that they match. That's then the public has to prove it is tabulating properly what we're telling it to, what we want it to.
Go through a self-test to make sure that the scanner is not, dirty or anything.
There's maintenance schedules, so they are maintained, they are cleaned, they are charged periodically according to what's required to make sure that they stay in good
I'm
working
probably
order.
not being clear on what I'm asking. Well, during the election time, when the machines aren't actually tabulating,
Mhm.
do they have a self-test routine to make sure all the systems are functioning properly?
No. That would just be covered under the maintenance. However,
When you said something about if the scanner needs to be clean,
right. So during this testing process, there could be where it may want to jam. So then we're gonna just make sure that the pathway is clear. There's simple little troubleshooting things where if it's not completely open the right way, meaning this door back here is open, then it doesn't have the pathway open. So it's just troubleshooting like that. If it were to jam, then we would know, oh, this door wasn't open, let's make sure the path is clear. Or paper, if they're open in a dusty warehouse for 12 hours, if for whatever reason, there could be debris or dust or ripped paper for whatever, then that would be something that we could troubleshoot, clean out, and it would continue scanning and calculating.
I'll I have a question for Linda. After all the machines have done the voting and everything, you've done your tabulating, do you do a retest of the machines after all that to make sure that they're still functioning properly afterwards?
That would be done in the routine maintenance.
Okay.
They would check all of the machines at that point.
Is that done right after the election?
It probably varies. I guess I don't know the answer to that.
And there's double checks
Exactly.
too with your tabulation. So we have, whoever checked into a poll book or something like that, you have a number of ballots issued, which is then checked against the machine tabulation numbers, which then you have the paper ballots for County County, to make sure that you have multiple steps where you're verifying that the numbers are also.
Linda, so what I'm asking in this question is, once the machines have been, done all the tabulating, zeroed out, do any tests on the machines after the election to make sure that they're still in spec just like they're doing right now? It could possibly identify if there would be any machine defects that have popped up that may have a certain voting location suspect with the ballots on that machine.
Okay.
Sort of like a check and balance, a double check. I don't know if you do anything like that, or if there's another procedure that would make my suggestion totally smooth.
There's LNA testing that is done on equipment before every election. So that is logistics and accuracy testing. So that takes place before the public test. So every machine is tested. Any necessary things to be done are done, whether it's calibrating of the screen, whatever. So that's done before every election. Then there's the public test done, and then there's the regular maintenance cycle.
Okay, so what I'm suggesting was, would it make sense to do a test after the election to make sure that all the equipment is still functioning properly? And then if one machine would fail the test, okay, how does it fail it? And could that have been something that would skew the election results for the election?
What we do have, David, and I don't know if this may help you understand a little bit better, but throughout the election day when all of the machines are being used, then we have a log for the inspector to make sure and log anything that happened during that time. If a technician had to come out and unjam a paper, everything is documented, okay, so that we know. And so when we have our field technician come in, they take a look at all of that information, and then they check on those machines to make sure that they are in proper order. And then we have, and I tried to get on the list, and they told me I couldn't be on the list this year, but the V-Stop, if you want to do an audit of your equipment, then they will come in and do a complete audit, which is like a recount after an election to prove your test results just from another level of testing. And they said, we have already gone through that with our equipment in Madison County, and so we're going to have to wait until all the 92 counties have been able to have a chance to go through that program. So.
Well, I told you about my background with the military with crypto here. So one of the things that we did is we did a check on the equipment afterwards. We followed the security check to make sure, yeah, the equipment is working fine. It's just like doing the same test you're doing now, right after the election, to make sure there's not dirt in the scanners where it missed picking up a vote for a certain candidate or whatever. That way, it takes time, takes money, because everything here is time and money. But that way you can certify that before the election was done, the machines were checked. Right after the election was done, the machines were checked again and found to be in perfect working order mechanically.
Okay, well, that's certainly a good suggestion, something that we can talk about with the board. Absolutely, thank you.
I have a question from the Facebook. When they did the public test, did they test all ways of voting, like the write-ins and?
Yes, ma'am.
I saw it all on. I did see it on the paper, but if I could remember. That was one of the questions. They wanted to know if you test all areas of voting. Each person that went up to test.
We did.
voted for different people. So
Yes.
I just wanted to show up.
If you would like for, when Sue is finished, if you would like for her to go through that again with you, she can do that.
Well, I saw it. I'm telling them I saw it.
Okay.
I would have liked to show them recorded it. So
I explained in the very beginning of the thing that was the reason why we were doing the multiple precincts, and that's so that we get every target position, every candidate, everything, whether it's a write-in, whether it's
right,
whatever.
I did see that. I just wanted to
Yes.
film it. That's what I was saying. So they could have saw what it said.
So I have a couple questions. At the last one that you guys did you do multiple, like, different, when you marked the things, they weren't all identical, all the ballots weren't identical when you marked them last time, when we did the last election meeting? So they were like this, they were diversified?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, like different candidates, correct?
We did the same process.
Okay. And then I just would like to know, when you have these machines, when do you zero them out from like when we do them right now until election day? When do they get zeroed out?
They'll be zeroed out
Today.
after the public test is approved.
Okay. So my concern is that, when was our last election? May 5th? So on May 5th, at about 11 o'clock, I got on the Madison County website where you could see the votes. And it was, it had about 48 votes already in the machine. They were not zeroed. There were 32 votes, exactly the same, for the same people, and then there were exactly 12 for the other people, if my numbers are correct. I'd have to go back. So why weren't the machines at zero at that time? And how weird is it that everybody had the same exact votes?
I don't really know what you're talking about.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that I had that on the record.
I can tell you that when you looked at the numbers coming across the screen before the polls had closed, those were from a previous election, and they took those down once the new numbers began to come in, if that's what you mean.
No, this was during the actual voting time of the actual election.
You're saying 11 a.m.?
It was about between 10 and 12. I'm not going to give the exact. Between 10 and
Did
12.
that say already?
No, we don't enter any totals until after the polls have closed.
We've got the file.
I have a copy of it if you want it. It appeared to be just the test vote data, but the PDF was uploaded.
It's not cleared
I
out.
have a copy of it on stand. If you look at the screenshot of it.
I'm sure it
I'm
probably,
not saying that they were counted in the total.
No, they weren't.
That's what the document was.
Okay.
I'll find it.
I know that in the beginning, when we have our technicians come in who work with our IT department to get all of that information going, they start running old information to make sure that it's showing on the live feed. So more than likely, it was just, as you said, it was the test for part of the results
Yeah,
coming
I
through.
imagine the automated process and that PDF captures.
Correct. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'll just, is all this equipment battery backed up?
Yes, ma'am.
So we did not lose power during the last election?
No, ma'am.
Anything, not the
No, ma'am. Nope.
Well, I read in the paper where you said you were going to use some of that money that's off, so got 5 battery backup, these batteries.
Our batteries are set to be replaced in 2025. So they just reach a certain point where you need to replace them, and they'll be replaced then, before the 2026 election.
So if these go to, like, we have this open poll area, and somebody moves the machine, like, you set it up in a certain area. Then say something happened, you needed areas or something else because it was a two process. If these get moved by anybody, do they get re-looked at before they're opened back up to vote on?
They're never closed. During election day, they're not ever closed down. They're just, you can unplug them and move them to another site and they look just like that.
Right, but if you're not there, if you're not there to move it,
It doesn't matter. A poll worker can move them. But we can unplug them with a Democrat and a Republican, literally unplug it from the electricity and move it to a different area, and it doesn't disturb anything because it has battery backup.
okay, but like where you house it at, are they allowed to move the machine? They're not a poll worker. I'm saying, are they allowed? So say you have it in a school and for whatever reason the superintendent comes in, I need to use this room today, so can they just move the
It's only
machine?
there for election.
No, not
The satellite centers, these are never in a satellite center.
Okay, so
You
what's
can't
in
tabulate on
what's in a satellite?
only the marking device. And those the actual ballots come back every day.
Okay, and so those marking devices, can they just be moved to another room
Yeah.
by just anybody and then put back? I'm just asking.
Typically, an inspector would be notified, and the inspector would go out and help.
And if they weren't, this has truly happened. I'm not doing this because I just want to ask you a stupid question. This really happened.
I did not receive any reports that occurred.
Sue, where are we with the
Okay, right now,
testing process?
right now we've closed the polls on all of them. They've looked at the tapes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them into our software, and I'm going to print out reports so then that way they can look at the expected results and then the reports of what you guys just read. Okay?
What you're doing now, is it always you who does that, or is it a
Yes.
person from that county that does that?
No, I do it. This is election systems and software. I have been contracted by the county to be their election systems and software representative to manage the software on that.
So you would be the only one that would have the code to that,
The code,
to do that, like, to get into that, so.
all it does is just like logging onto your computer. It's just a computer. It's just a code to open it up.
Listen, I'm just learning this. I'm not sure why you're
Right.
like,
No, I'm just saying,
I don't know
no,
what's going on.
there's no passcodes or any of that kind of stuff. It's just logging on to the computer. That's what I just did.
Okay, I mean, I don't know what's going on, that's why.
I turned on the computer and I logged in with the password to get onto the computer.
And then you're gonna go into it.
And then I've got to go into a program.
Okay, that's what I just didn't know.
Yes, and for security purposes, this is not allowed to be streamed.
Which is fine, I just can't see what, I don't know what I'm doing, so.
Yeah.
You're welcome to come up and watch what she's doing.
Yeah, you can see it?
Yeah, if you want to come
But
up.
I'm just asking a question, because I didn't know if this is a separate computer that's brought in just at election time only, or if this is something that's in the cloud that you can get on.
No.
The hard-end software.
There is
And
no internet capability of any kind.
then just the thumb drives from the DS200s with the votes is imported here to create the results.
So she can view it, but we can't video.
Correct. That is for security purposes, okay? Security purposes, we can't show our software programs and that for security purposes.
So then, does this download somewhere?
No, there is no,
This by state law, state code cannot be accessing the internet anyway.
there is no internet.
It's just a program where we upload the results from the machines to create.
So you're bringing a flash drive from here?
Yep, which I
Okay,
just
that's what
did.
I'm trying to figure out,
Right.
how's it getting from here to here? So it's a
Flash
flash
drive.
drive.
That's the
Right.
secure encrypted hard drive or thumb drives that
Okay.
get coded with the election data. And
Okay,
then-
so you're just taking the flash drive out of there and then you're bringing here.
Yeah.
So when you go to the polling sites, when they have open,
When
like,
they close the polls at the end of the night?
no, when you have
early
the early voting,
does not
They-
have the
They don't have those.
Because Indiana cannot tabulate for early. Indiana can only count or tabulate votes on election day.
So what do they do with those ones that are
They're
early?
in that, they're in a blue bin. So when you go in and vote early, then we have a blue bin, and they get put in that slot and that bin has a seal on it. And at the end of the night, then the Democrat and the Republican from that satellite center takes those ballots and they go up to the election room and they're logged in.
So they're not scanned over there, they're scanned when they're brought back here.
On election day only. They cannot be.
At the end of every open day, they're gonna bring them back here and lock them up until election day.
And they verify the amount of ballots to the amount of people that they checked in that day.
Okay, and then when they feed it through the machine, it say that it wasn't marked right, like the circles weren't. Will it kick it back and they do something,
It
or?
possibly will kick it back and you have a Democrat and a Republican person that views the ballot and they decide to accept it or reject it at that point.
Okay, so it's a human person that decides to
Yes.
reject it
Yes.
or accept it. Okay,
And it's a Democrat and a Republican at all times.
okay.
Not on the ballot cards, correct?
On the ballot cards, you cannot mismark. You can't overvote on a ballot card either.
Which is what happens at the satellite centers. They're ballot cards.
What's a ballot card look like?
That's the ballot
Is that
card.
the
not
long one?
That's not the full size. If you want to go look,
Is that the
Becky
long
will
one?
show you the ballot card.
So on this, with her system, so you have a secure log on that only you can enter stuff into the system as the contracted employee, correct?
Right, yes. Nobody else has my login to get onto this computer.
And there is tracking on that, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
And then with the encrypted thumb drives, I call them,
Mm-hmm.
those are encrypted, so they only, it has to have the encryption for the program to recognize it as a valid voting pad.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Each one of these machines, when we first start an election, from the primary to now. So from the primary, we had a certain thumb drive that we put in every one to clear the results, clear all the information, and put on an acceptance code for this coming election. That's done first. Then we put the thumb drives in like we just did. To count the ballots. If it was not qualified, what we call qualified first, that code for this election, it won't even accept ballots.
Or security, so if someone tried to cut a thumb drive that's not part of the system, it would recognize.
Oh, yeah,
and give
right
us-
away, yeah. And the only way they could do that is if they had a key to unlock it and cut the seal, because the actual thumb drives are still inside, underneath that. Okay?
I've got a crypto background in the military.
So I can
Very much.
Good.
That's
what I'm saying, to make sure.
Yes, it doesn't just mark this and then go straight away. You're putting this blank card into an express vote, which is then ultimately just marking your selections for you instead of just an electronic pencil. Then this comes back out for you to verify. So it's still a paper ballot because you still have your selection on a piece of paper. And then this is sealed and secured until election day where it is sent.
I've never done all of those, so that's why I'm done. So I'm not asking to be difficult, I'm just trying to.
I just want to make sure that I'm talking.
And then just one question, I know that's not going to come into play for this election here, but I got a lot of calls in the primary because say they went in, they really didn't know that you had to pull a Democrat or a Republican ticket. So then they said, oh, I want a Democrat ticket. Well, then they went to look at it and they're like, but none of these people are who I want to vote for. There was no way to go back and have them now, they hadn't voted, they just looked at it and they're like, this isn't the correct one. So is there anything that can be done when that happens for those people? I had several that it happened to.
Indiana law says once they've chosen
The party.
Yeah,
That's true,
and
but
once they've
if-
chosen
and
the party.
Yeah, and that just,
The clerks don't select for them, they select it.
right, no, they,
Okay.
and that's what they said,
And
but
they made a mistake.
they made a mistake and they wanted to know if they had any way to change that.
Okay.
And so I was just asking the question, the only thing I said to the people when they were there, I would just ask the people who were checking you in, because they had sample ballots there, is can I look at who's on the Republican ticket,
Yep.
who's on the Democrat
You can do
ticket?
that. They
That's
can
about
do
the only way.
Yeah, that's what they should
You
do.
know, and maybe in training that we say to the people in the primaries, please, you know, if they're unsure, they don't know which one, show them the both ballots, because this is just people don't think about, just like me asking these questions about what happens when you're voting early. I don't have any idea. I'm not trying to be difficult, I just don't know.
Interesting, thank you.
Sue, are you
Due
ready?
to the fact of that Indiana law is because if somebody votes early, they come to a satellite center, let's say they come the very first day, they wanted to vote, and for some reason or other, they died between that and election day, as long as Madison County gets the official notification, we have to literally take their ballot out of the absentee ballots. Yeah, if they die.
Yep.
That is state law. That is the only reason why Indiana has this.
Okay.
Yeah. Just as,
Yeah, you have to be alive on election
I thought it
day.
was so good. In other states it is, but Indiana's state code states, and that's why we don't tabulate during early voting.
And this is really what this should be, it's a learning experience for
yes.
many people.
What time do you start tabulating absentee and early votes on election day?
It kind of depends on how many we have. Last year, we started about, 10 o'clock. We feel like we're going to ask the teams to be available by 6 o'clock in the morning.
By law, 6 a.m. on
Yep.
election day. Okay, so they can, and if anybody wants to come up and verify these reports, you're more than welcome to. I know you've verified tapes. Also,
So, anyone want to do that? We'll tell Sue to wait till you
Please
come
come on
up.
up.
But this paper report now is showing that the data from the thumb drive imported properly. So not only did the ballot that entered into the machine come out on the tape right, but now that data went onto that thumb drive and imported into the system the same way that we wanted to as well. So it's showing that the votes are getting
That
counted.
is on the board that are understated.
okay, right, okay, so here we go.
Do you want to come up on that?
Monroe, one in Union. And you guys verified the tapes already.
You'll just maybe verify it with your,
With the report, okay, so then
and
this
then
is the new report.
and this came from.
This is, yes, right, see, you can see right here, date and time, 10:58 and 11:48. So 11:48.
Okay, so this is the one you just did, and this is the one that we did.
Yeah, there's the, well, wait, let's see, date 10:3, this is the 10:3.
Okay, that
That
was
was
just,
yesterday.
okay.
Okay, this is 10:3. So you can see the 2-6, 1-4, 1 in excess, 4, 6-10.
And then, so this is the computer.
This, yeah, this is, these
Okay, these are both from the
warnings. Yeah, these are both earlier, that you are exiting your voting select, your voting session. No votes are being counted.
Right.
So it's unexpected if counties try to help us by putting,
Oh, yeah.
Thing,
Yeah,
so
so
that
again, with that,
different-
and at the end of election day, we always back it up, so then if we have something were to happen, put the actual computer that it's stored on, they can bring in a new computer, put in the software, and then they can upload it. So that we need to get up into the, everyone's.
So how many are there in the units? Because you can't be involved.
Oh, you know. Oh, well, so I'm protected by Madison County, so I'm here from start to finish.
So does every county have a point of view?
No. Okay. No, not every county. A lot of counties do, but not every county. I don't. How many employees do we have? Becky, do you have any idea? Becky is my supervisor. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I was told.
No, what was the question? I'm
How
sorry.
many? She asked how many of us there are. There's a lot.
So this doesn't go on in all 92 counties? The same exact way we're doing it here? No, they don't.
There are,
Okay, there's a lot of counties in the state of Indiana that does not have election system and software.
Right.
There's multiple
there's
voting
yeah,
machine companies.
there's different piecemeals, I guess, of
There's us, there's Microvote, who
There's
else?
a few different certified that any vendor has to be certified in to run election.
Do you know which one is the most popular one? I know there's very few of this design.
And it's, I mean, we are countrywide though, so each state is different. There's states where we,
So for our
ES&S
state,
is,
you have one machine that's more popular than another.
These are, this is called the DS200, is, if it's an election systems and software county, it's in every Indiana county, is it not?
Look,
right.
Right.
I looked on the state side. This county and one other county are the only two.
So we're not, Becky, how many?
Well, that's what they got on the state
Only
side,
two of what?
the user system,
We have
The-
14 counties in Indiana that are
Well,
ES&S.
the DS, whatever.
She's the state supervisor.
I know what she would know. I'm
But,
just trying to
okay,
get
that's
that.
just a question. Like,
But
there's so many Mercedes, there's so many Cadillacs, there's so many,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
whatever system this is, how many, reporting activity, only two counties use this.
Yes.
No,
The only
They use this one?
14 that use this.
14 of our
Yes.
counties, including Marion County,
Yep.
use
This one?
ES&S. This is a tabulator. Now, there are older versions.
Maybe it's a tabulator that we're thinking of, because the only two counties use this.
No.
That, they need to update their site, because I looked on.
There are two that have the older version of these machines in the state still. It's just, no, you are on the DS200.
I'm just going by what I saw on the state.
Well, she's in charge of
It
this.
could be.
She's
It could be.
I
The
believe
state-
for our company.
I know, that's why I have to go back and read. and see
The
what-
state reports, I do know that there was reports on there that were listing which counties have which vendors and
Right.
which types of whatnot
Right.
together. If you look at the date on it, I believe it's quite old also.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, they need to update their site.
Right, and that is the state.
I believe you.
Right, that is the state from what they accumulated from all.
We're just trying to get a better understanding.
This is the newer equipment that came into the state. Prior to this equipment, we had what we called M100s, which also Marion County also had at that time.
There are still a few that haven't updated yet because they're still fully functioning, they're still secure.
I think
So there's two counties that still have M100s that haven't moved to this DS.
which is just a tablet. Okay? But they also have to have the actual,
So that's what these are.
threshold, which that card comes off of, that's our ADA compliant. So every county has to have some kind of piece of equipment in every site, every polling site. Whether, if it's a vote center, it's a polling site, if it's precinct by precinct, they have to have an ADA equipment in every one of those counties. So in that way, if somebody's ADA, needs ADA accessible equipment, we offer that also. And that might be different also in the state, as far as different types. It depends on how the county itself got certified and when they purchased their equipment, as to what software they're on, and then it gets pretty intense.
The advantage to this ES&S software package and the machines that we have is that you actually have a ballot card so that you can vote on the machine and see what you voted on your paper ballot and then take that paper ballot into the tabulator and feed it in yourself.
And I do believe Indiana recently made the verifiable paper trail a mandatory thing for the entire state. So we, as a vendor, already complied with that, whereas the other vendors had to create additional pieces of equipment to comply with that. So I know that there's different numbers in different counties that do different things, but we were in compliance with that from the start, whereas the other vendors were not having a full paper trail at that time. Now it's required by the state that every county has to have a verified paper trail for.
I was grilled yesterday on that.
They're just trying to gain.
I totally understand. That's right. I would rather you understand where, about the equipment and that, and just so that you know, right now, there's nothing that is stored in any of these. Right
Because
now.
it's all on the flash
It's all on all of the voting history information is on the flash drive. These contain firmware.
And it has no identifiable information for who you are. It is strictly reading your ballot and what votes were cast. There's no voter identifying information. These do not have internet capability, they do not have any type of modem, they do not
So
have.
there's no way to cross-reference if that ballot was yours or not?
No,
At
there
that,
is not.
that never will
No.
cross.
no.
I got a question. That little piece of paper that you get when you check in to vote, now what is that?
That is a receipt that says that you checked in to vote. That just goes into a basket. That's for the poll book itself.
So it's basically saying you live here, you are eligible to vote for X candidates. You
Right.
get this ballots out for this free.
Now, some places give that little piece of paper to the voter. I know we keep ours. Is there anything on that little piece of paper?
We want to keep ours here, so that way we can balance at the end of every night. If it's a satellite, that we should, if we had 10 voters walk through, I'm just doing a little example here, that we have 10 slips.
I just wondered why they was giving theirs to the voter.
That's their
That's all
own.
it's
But
That's their
there's
own.
nothing in there that identifies you that gave you back that slip.
No,
There's nothing that would ever
On that-
indicate what you voted, but you are voting, so that is public
all it
record.
is public record. It's your name, your address, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I guess I didn't.
there's a record of you voted in the election, and not who you voted for.
And it's mainly true that if we vote, make sure that we can balance that with the amount of
Okay.
people that check in,
It's
we get it out to the amount of people that will check in.
I mean, I could go vote early, but then I'd burn up that book
Then you
number,
have
so
your correct ballots.
when you can
So
look
that
at
if you, there's a precinct line where you're.
Yeah, I like the fact that they've done that, but on the last national election, we saw where they were just bringing in ballot boxes full, and there was no tracking on that. So the way it's done here, every ballot box is tracked from what voting machine it came from, when it's received in up here, correct?
And as you can see, each one has a kind of, the identifier on it here.
I don't want
Each one of those blue boxes has an identifier on the outside of the blue box. Every blue box that it would be in here that we collect ballots. Every one of those is sealed, locked and sealed when they come back.
You're gonna get.
And the actual ballots themselves at the end of the night are pulled out of that button box, are put together by a Democrat and a Republican, not just one person. They pull it out and they have to put it into a sealed envelope. An envelope, they seal it, and they have to initial both the Democrat and Republican. And those ballots are retained when it goes through.
So you've got your checks and balances there, those are valid ballots, not where someone's tried to solve.
Correct.
Correct.
Now, when those blue boxes are transferred from the satellite offices, is it transferred with two people or one person?
Two people.
Democrat and Republican.
Always a Democrat and a Republican.
Specific ballots and no ballot in that box.
What happens, like if there's three
There's no
signs for
time for
ballots,
that.
and they didn't have that many people show
It's
up,
basically
what happens
just
to
making
those?
sure that it's known.
They're not, you mean the clerk, when they're not supposed to pre-sign?
They think they're signing, so that's why I'm asking when they do, what
But that's also now. The barcodes.
They go, yes, they go back into the blue bin.
They have to be accounted for.
They have to be accounted for. And we discourage that.
Yeah.
We have-
Did you hear that question?
Yeah.
Pre-signing ballots, they said that they're destroyed, they're brought back here and destroyed. You know, when you show up and they pre-sign those ballots, because they're thinking they're gonna have more people.
Right. They're destroyed at the end of the election.
No. They go into election materials. All of it gets sealed and put into lock for 22 months. And then at the end of that retention period, then they are destroyed.
Yeah.
Well, now,
This really happened.
Okay, Sue, are you ready to proceed with the results?
We're done. Yeah, it's been approved. Everybody's looked at what they needed to look at.
And they all matched?
Yeah.
Everything, there were no discrepancies whatsoever? Right, is there anything else to do in terms of the testing procedure itself?
May I ask one question?
Yes, you may, because we're getting ready we need to wrap up.
Okay, for the early tabulation is allowed by law to of absentee ballots to begin on a full day before the polls close. So in those cases, how many hours, like last year, I think you said 11 or whatever it was, and you're going to try 6 this year. How how many hours before the polls closed were those absentees tabulated fully before the polls closed?
They were processed, but they're processed, and they are processed through these DS200s. So we have Ds and Rs that come in, and they put them through, and then the sticks are removed and secured, and they cannot be tabulated until after the polls close.
At 6 p.m.
Yeah.
At 6 p.m. We might have 10 of these this time, depending on how many absentee ballots we have. They will go through, but until 6 p.m., they will stay open. Then we go through and we hit closed polls at 6 p.m.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, in other words, during the election itself before 6 p.m., we can't.
We can never see any votes of any kind prior to 6 p.m.
Right.
Only the person that's feeding it in the machine. They're not going to be able to count thousands of votes and keep a tally in their head.
Well,
so
they don't even know. Yeah, even a poll.
So they just feed them in the machine. They stay secure on the thumb drive. And then
That's right. And they're processed like the other thumb drives after 6 o'clock.
Just to further your education here, let's say, because I know you're going to probably have a question, maybe a scanner goes down during the day. Okay? That thumb drive is holding all the votes, right, that were in there. So the blue box stays in there with the ballots, and if for some reason or other we have to exchange this out, because this is just, right now it's a shell. It means nothing until we put that thumb drive in. So we could go and take this one out, put a new one in, put the thumb drive in. When we put the thumb drive in, it's going to say that there was 10 votes already on there. They're going to verify that before they were to shut it, move the stick, the thumb drive, sorry, and then they can put a new scanner in there. The one thing I want y'all to remember is that it's only the thumb drive that holds the information.
How do they know that it only had 10 in there? If you shut down before you saw the last number, how are they cross-referencing that that drive truly?
Well, it won't shut down. I mean, unless something,
sure.
I'm just saying, like, let's say ballots started to get jammed and we couldn't get that. It's going to still say what your vote counts. And you usually have somebody that's there directing it, and they usually keep track of it. And they are also given where they are to check every 2 hours the amount of public count here compared to what their check-ins are on the poll books. They're checked every 2 hours.
I just need clarification on what you said, Linda. You said that extra ballots that were made up, that were sent back to the county building,
Mm-hmm.
they were not sent back to the poll the next morning, the extra ones?
Oh.
On satellite.
On satellites?
The extra, during the early voting.
And by extra, you just mean that they're initial. They're not
Yeah.
voted by the
Right, they're
right?
not voted, they just initialed them ahead of time because they thought they were going to be, they were going to too crowded or something. So there was an issue with that,
Okay.
and I'm asking you.
Did somebody report that issue?
Yes, they did. And they were told that the ballots were sent back to the polling place. And when they checked that morning, one of the other poll workers said, well, we already took care of that. But there was no record, no sheet saying we received our 50 ballots we made up and sent uptown.
Okay, I'll have to ask on that, Rebecca, because that was never reported to me.
It was, and then the person who reported it is no longer welcome to work the polls.
We no longer asked to work the polls.
That's not right.
Reported several
Because she
things.
reported it. That's wrong.
And this was like this year?
No, last year, or whatever, not this, because what happened in the primaries, whatever.
So in 23?
23.
But we were concerned about the balance. Somebody called me that was working at the poll and said that their trainers, I don't know, did you do the training for
We all
that?
do.
Well, you did a very good job because I got calls all through the election. The trainer said this woman was from ES&S and she knew those machines backwards and forwards and how the process was supposed to go. And every time, and I've documented everything, every time somebody called me, I either called or somebody. But I told the girl to write a report and let them know. And I would give your name and stuff, but she wasn't asked to work anymore after she filled those reports. but they were making up anywhere from 30 to 50 to 60 extra ballots every day, and she never saw an account for it when it came back to the polls.
Transported by one person.
We addressed it last year and this year.
Right,
We know about that.
Exactly.
You're talking about 2023, so in the primary in 2024, we addressed that.
You told her not to do it, but they did it anyway. And also, they had a couple incidents where the lady went uptown by herself with the ballot.
Not
Well,
transferred.
the other lady had fell out. But all this has been recorded, and that don't have nothing to do with y'all, because y'all run the machine. I'm talking about the process now.
That's been reported to,
The prosecutor's office,
it was not reported to me.
I can ask her if she turned it in, she filed a complaint. Yes, we will, ask the prosecutor.
Okay, well, we're really here to finish up on the testing of the machines today.
You
So,
can answer questions.
well, all right, but we do need to finish the testing. So we're going to go ahead and proceed to do that at this time. Is there anything else the technicians need to report then?
Yeah, as far as,
All right, well, the last item of business for the board is once the testing has occurred and we have been advised as to the verification that the machines are accurately tabulating and operating as they should, there is a certification that we are supposed to sign. So is there a motion for us to do that at this time?
I make a motion that we accept the results of the public test and that the board moves forward with signing the IEC 10 state form.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion has passed, and we will be signing the certification of the IEC 10. All right, are there other questions to come before the board right now? We've been here an hour and 15 minutes, 16 minutes or so.
I have.
We've had lots of questions, but if you've got another question, now's the time because
Can you see my hand? You got it.
I can't see you at all. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I have something to say. I noticed the board has made several little policies and rules and stuff, and I would ask that you publish that on your site, because I'll be on your site, Linda, and see the meeting, to publish these policies and all these recommendations. But I did watch the Asian News Network program from the National, I believe it was Secretary of State, the city and county clerks. Before a federal election is not the time to be using a bunch of new people, a bunch of people that never worked the election. I've had people come up to me and tell me they wasn't asked to work last in the primary. We had new people. I even had somebody who said they just got asked to work that day. This is a federal election. Things are complicated as enough. And why did you change veteran workers that had done a good job all along up until now and go with trying to hire new people at new sites, change people around? Everything y'all did was broadcast on national news not to do during a federal election.
Okay, you can you would need to address that with your county chairman. Okay. They are the ones that make the nominations for all of the poll workers.
Oh, okay, so you don't have anything to do with that?
No, ma'am. I received them. I received them from.
state code
That
as
is
well.
state code.
So you can have it.
I'm sorry.
You can have it. But they did, that was a national news program. When I saw that happening, you still call me. Issues and problems, and I just wondered why.
Did you have another question, sir? If not, we're going to close.
Sergeant, just to inform me, educate me on this, because I'm still new to this. Do you have Democrat, Republican judges that travel around to the different voting sites to make sure that everything's done properly, just as a spot check for checks and balances?
Judges are appointed by by the chair of the, so there's only one judge. That's not a bipartisan or a position, but each party has the right to appoint what are called watchers. And they can, if they're credentialed, they can enter the polling process.
Okay, I'm probably not being quite clear. The election board is responsible for the entire election process, right?
Right.
So.
I'm just sorting.
There were representatives of the board that go around and spot check at each voting location every once in a while, to make sure everything's done in accordance with your guidelines.
We go out periodically. I've gone out myself to make sure, especially if I get a call that they would like to have a board member present. So that doesn't happen very often because our inspectors are the managers of the polling place. And so we are mainly here at the hub, which is the courthouse. We receive the calls and take care of those as we get them.
Okay,
So
I didn't know in your hierarchy you had certain designated individuals that would just pop in at different voting locations.
we call those technicians our election day techs,
Oh,
if that's what you're talking about. So just a difference in
we do.
in the name, the designation.
Help if there's ballot jam, if there's something wrong with the poll book, they're trained to do that. So we have, what,
Yeah.
6 of them?
At least 6.
Okay, so you've got troubleshooters.
Yes,
We do.
absolutely.
They're responding as trouble comes up. They get dispatched.
Mr. Lanane, can I ask
Yeah.
a question? When you talk about the watchers, can somebody ask to be a watcher in the?
Those are appointed by the chairs of the parties. So it's up to the chairs to decide who's going to be a watcher.
So like if I was a candidate and I wanted to have a watcher in a certain poll, can we be denied having a watcher in there? Because in the primary, the Republicans did, or not, said we want no watchers, period. I didn't know that you could make it like anything like that.
I can't answer that today. I'm sorry.
And then my final question is, I have a complaint in with the election board, but I haven't heard of a hearing, and it's been probably 6, 7 weeks.
I know that has been forwarded to the county attorney, Katherine, and if you would like for me to check on it for you, I will let you know.
As long as you can say, hey, Katherine, I'm going to let you know by an email, I'm fine.
We will let you
I
know.
want to miss the date.
Oh, no, we wouldn't let you miss the
That's
date.
fine.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no further business to come before the board,
Make a motion that the meeting be adjourned.
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Stand adjourned. Thank you.
I'm tired. That's good. I don't know if you got your